I think to keep owners happy, owners want to be as involved as they want to be, but also as uninvolved as they want to be, which is a hard balance to find. But I think you have to provide the data and the systems and processes so that they feel confident with what you're doing. And that requires you letting them know what you're doing to some point, but then making that they can kind of step back from that investment so that they know it's being managed well. That is something that I think owners want. They want to know what's going on, because if they hear nothing, then they assume nothing's happening. But at the same time, they don't want to have to decide on every little single thing that's going on. They want you, that's why they're hiring you, is to manage that.
Well, I think that response time is key. I think what a lot of owners want is they want to know that someone's going to be able to pick up the phone and be responsive. Usually problems occur when that doesn't happen. One of the reasons why we're so, laser focused on customer service kind of applies for property managers as well. So keep their owners happy. Property managers will be a lot happier, more successful that way. They'll attract the right kind of client.
I think it goes back to two things. The owners fire us for is lack of execution, right? It's like making sure that you're doing the little things, making sure that you're knocking out the checklist as it relates to each one of those houses. And then it's also doing a great job of communicating with them. We talk about anticipating the next question at Evernest. What is the next question the owner is going to ask, whether you're responding to an email or you're on the phone with an owner, that basically keeps that tennis ball from going back and forth, where you can jump out ahead and build a bunch of trust with a client.
Best way to keep owners happy is to keep tenants in properties. That's pretty much, it's basically that and maintenance cost, I always say. So if you can master those, if you can keep those tenants renewing over and over again and keep the maintenance cost reasonable, your owners aren't going to leave. Your churn is going to be low. So that's really where the focus needs to be, I think.
I think PMs should communicate efficiently and effectively with their owners to keep them happy. It's about having a conversation. A lot of times we see owners coming to PMs blaming them for things that happened rather than actually having a conversation and trying to get to the root cause or the bottom of what's actually happening, right? An example is someone that just reached out to us yesterday and they said they're unhappy with the fact that a tenant that we didn't even place caused $10,000 worth of damage to their property. The reality is they should have never hired their friend to put that tenant in the house. So you coming to me 6 months later to tell me you're unhappy with the tenant is something that I probably could have predicted. It's about doing a good job, communicating well, and having conversations that lead to effective outcomes.
If the owner is being satisfied, I think it starts with tenant or resident retention. If you have a high resident retention, the owner is going to drive more revenue. They're going to be more profitable, right? The other thing is communication. We all know that typically when owners terminate with property management companies, it's because of typically high maintenance cost, poor resident retention, or poor communication. So look at your communication channels. What is the owner's communication preference? Do owners like, hey, I want to be communicated by text. I want email. Do not call me. Chat bots. So whatever you can do to customize that owner communication and make sure that you have a short follow-up time with the owner is definitely going to increase their experience.
Communication with owners, explanation, deep understanding of what's actually going on at the property. So much of that is maintenance. We've seen increasing maintenance costs at such a rapid clip because of inflation of 2022, 2023, that an explanation of why things are happening, how an HVAC condenser works, how a furnace works, why leaks in your heat exchanger are dangerous to your tenants. And that kind of feeds into the second thing, which I think is prevention of liability or mitigating liability to the greatest extent possible. Owners want to be shielded from various things. They want to be shielded from costs, absolutely, but they also want to be shielded from liability, and I'm not certain that they can do that at the exact same time. They can't have both. In the example of a heat exchanger, for example, that's leaking carbon monoxide, they either need to take the hit of the maintenance expense, and the property manager needs to be able to explain why that's dangerous and why there's liability, or they need to take the liability for not fixing something when it's due to be fixed. So I think what property managers can realistically do is explain things better to owners so they understand why they're being hit with costs at a certain clip, why turnovers are more expensive, etc.